Imagine waking up one morning and finding a cockroach in your kitchen. You call pest control, they come out, they get rid of it. Problem solved. For you, that's the end of the story. For the pest control company, it could be the beginning, because that one visit can turn into a regular service relationship, a customer who keeps paying for protection over time. And when you multiply that customer by thousands, then hundreds of thousands, you get a very different kind of business. Rollins, one of the biggest pest control companies in the United States, generated $3.76 billion in revenue in 2025. So why does pest control make this much money? And more importantly, what exactly are these companies buying when they spend hundreds of millions of dollars acquiring other pest control businesses? Because the answer isn't just trucks, it isn't pesticide, and it isn't even the buildings they operate from. It's something much harder to see. Here's the first thing that's easy to miss. When you pay for pest control, you're not really paying someone just to kill a cockroach. You're paying to solve a problem, and ideally to stop that problem from coming back. That's why regular pest control can make sense for a homeowner. You aren't paying because you expect to see a cockroach every month. You're paying because you don't want to. And that difference is incredibly important to the business because the company isn't necessarily selling you another spray every month. It's selling you ongoing protection. But there's a catch. Someone still has to service all those houses. A technician has to drive there, park, perform the service, and move on to the next customer. And every minute spent driving between customers is time the technician isn't servicing someone else. Imagine 4 customers spread across a city, one house, then a 25-minute drive, another house, then another long drive. Now put those same 4 customers on the same few streets. Same 4 customers, same technician, same service. Completely different route. That's where something called route density becomes important. The more efficiently a company can organize its customers geographically, the more efficiently it can potentially deploy its technicians. Now combine that with recurring service. A customer who signs up for regular protection isn't starting from zero every month. The relationship already exists. The technician knows the territory, the company already has a service schedule, and the customer keeps paying for an ongoing service. That's a very different business from finding a completely new customer every time someone sees a cockroach. And that's where recurring revenue becomes so important. The company isn't just selling today's service. It's building a relationship that can continue over time. Now ask yourself a question. If you're a giant pest control company, would you rather spend years finding hundreds of thousands of customers or buy a company that already has them? Building a customer base takes time. Advertising costs money, salespeople cost money, and there's no guarantee every lead becomes a customer. But an acquisition can give you something much more immediate. An operating business that's already running. Existing customers, existing contracts, existing employees, existing routes, existing revenue. And that's why acquisitions are such a big part of this industry. Take Rollins. In 2025, Rollins acquired Saela Holdings for about $207 million. It wasn't simply buying a list of customers. It was acquiring an operating pest control business, people, routes, customers, contracts, and the infrastructure required to serve them. And here's where the story gets particularly interesting. When Rollins finalized the accounting for the Saela acquisition, $56.3 million of the acquired value was assigned to customer contracts. Now, that does not mean Rollins paid $56.3 million only for customers. It means those customer contracts were recognized as an intangible asset with measurable fair value. Think about what that tells you. A customer relationship isn't just something a salesperson talks about. In an acquisition, that relationship can actually have a measurable economic value. Now take that idea and make it enormous. When Rentokil announced its acquisition of Terminix, Terminix had approximately 2.9 million customers. More than 80% of its service revenue was recurring, and the deal was valued at approximately $6.7 billion. $6.7 billion. For a pest control company. So what exactly are you paying $6.7 billion for? Obviously, not pesticide, not spray bottles, not a warehouse full of trucks. You're buying an enormous operating business. But inside that business are millions of customer relationships, employees, routes, branches, systems, and a huge geographic footprint. And when two enormous networks come together, something interesting can happen. The combined company may be able to operate more efficiently. Customers can become more geographically concentrated, routes can become denser, purchasing can become larger, and duplicated infrastructure can potentially be reduced. That's the logic behind synergies. Rentokil initially projected at least $150 million in annual pre-tax run rate cost synergies from the Terminix combination. It later increased that target to at least $200 million by the end of 2025. In simple terms, the idea was that two large businesses could potentially be worth more together than they were separately. But there's another side to recurring customer relationships. The revenue can keep coming back. So can the obligations. And this is where our story gets uncomfortable. At the end of 2025, Rentokil reported a $384 million provision for termite damage claims. That included $358 million relating to legacy claims from contracts that existed before the Terminix acquisition. And during 2025, the company spent $95 million settling termite claims. It expects a similar level of cash payments in 2026. Now, this doesn't mean recurring revenue is a bad business model. It shows something more important. A customer relationship has value, but it also comes with obligations. You have to ask, how much does the customer pay? How long do they stay? How much does it cost to serve them? And what exactly has the company promised them? So let's go back to that cockroach. For the homeowner, it's an unwanted problem. The goal is simple: get rid of it and keep it from coming back. But for the company, that single service call can potentially become something much bigger. A customer relationship, a recurring service contract, a route, and eventually part of a business worth billions of dollars. That's the part most people never see. When you look at a pest control truck driving through your neighborhood, you're not just looking at someone carrying a can of pesticide. You're looking at a company managing customers, routes, employees, contracts, recurring revenue, and potentially billions of dollars in enterprise value. Because sometimes the biggest money isn't hiding in the things people buy, it's hiding in the relationships that keep them paying.